Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel, welcome to Megaman X. This is by far my favorite video game, probably of all time. I've been playing it since I was like 7 or 8 years old, so we're just gonna get straight into it. So I've literally lost count of the number of times I played this game. I remember playing it, it was like one of my brother's friend brought it over, I think, and happened to leave it at our place. And I remember spending ages just playing the intro stage over and over again because it was the only part of the game I could actually beat. It wasn't until more recently, probably like high school-ish, that I got into the rest of the Mega Man X series. Oops. That's a good start. But it's definitely become like my top video game series of all time, right up there alongside Pokemon. Unfortunately, the intro stage is going to go kind of slow because I don't have the ability to dash yet, but we'll get to that fairly soon. But I played the intro stage so many times as a kid. I would play the intro and Chill Penguin and Storm Eagle, and then that would be all I could get through, and I would just get stuck because I didn't know about the boss weaknesses, I didn't know about different weapons, any of that stuff as a kid. I think until like one day my brother and I sat down after school and just played through the entire game all in one stretch, and that was when I realized that the bosses have weaknesses and things you could do to make them easier. I think it was after that that I finally managed to actually beat the game for myself. The intro stage is I think it's a pretty good intro stage. It introduces all the mechanics you're going to need to know for the rest of the game. Whoop. It introduces wall climbing, flying enemies, ground enemies, all that kind of stuff. It introduces how to jump over enemies, which I clearly did not do there. And it also introduces us to this giant battleship, which we'll be seeing again in a later stage, and I totally forgot what it's called. It has a name. But I completely forgot what it was called. Part of me wanted to call it the Battleship Halberd, but that's obviously not the correct game series. But this brings us to our first boss, and I can't actually damage him. Although I can jump out of the way of his fist a bunch of times, which is really fun. I could just kind of keep doing this until he gets mad and jumps backwards, but this is just wasting time at this point. You can die to this boss, but it's pretty hard to do. You pretty much have to deliberately walk into him, because once you get to low health, he'll start doing that. But, you know, just don't walk directly into his face, and he shouldn't kill you. I have managed to die there before, which was very silly. Of course, in comes Zero to save the day, being the badass that he is. His sprite looks so much different in this game, it's so strange. So he doesn't have the shoulder pads, he doesn't have the green lights on his chest. The way the art style evolves is just, throughout the series, is pretty interesting. So Zero's gonna scout ahead for us and try to collect information on the fortress while we do clean up around town. So, like any good Mega Man X player, I'm going to start off with Chill Penguin's stage to get the dash ability, because that's going to make the rest of the game much easier and much faster. The number of times I played this game this stage in particular as a kid is just amazing. I think the Super Nintendo was probably my favorite console as a kid. It helps when you don't land on the enemies' heads. This isn't Mario. But I was definitely very attached to my Super Nintendo more than I think any other console that I had, between this and Yoshi's Island and Turtles in Time. It was a sad day when my Super Nintendo finally gave out. Even when I finally went to get rid of it, I found like a million sticky notes in it with just passwords and notes that I'd written to myself about the various games I'd played in it, which was pretty cool to how long those had been in there. I think I definitely end up preferring, in large part, I prefer the X series over the Classic series because of, I think largely because of the mechanics. Part of it, I think, is just nostalgia. It's what I grew up on. But also, the mechanics of dashing and climbing walls are something that I miss so much whenever I try to play the Classic series. So this is our first Dr. Light capsule. We're going to be finding 4 of them. And Dr. Light's going to give us some exposition about how he hoped that we would be living in an era of peace, even though he built us with a plasma cannon on our arm and hid a bunch of capsules with weapons in them. God only knows why. Regardless, he's going to give us the dash upgrade, which is going to make maneuvering around a lot easier. And it's going to make me feel like I can actually get something accomplished besides just walking from place to place. Oh yeah, that feels much better. An interesting little thing with the dash upgrade that's not actually ever explained in the game, but if you fire at the same time as you're dashing, your shot will do double damage. I'm not sure if that applies to charge shots. I know it applies to the pellet shots, the lemons. But for example, I can put that into play on bosses to do some extra damage. Speaking of damage, I'm just gonna leave that right armor down there and ignore the bottom path because it sucks, and there's bottomless pits and I don't like them. This is one of those games I feel like I've played so much that I have a majority of the movement just feels almost memorized at this point. It's just muscle memory from how many times I've done it, but it never seems to get old either. And I get hit by a snowball twice as I say that, but that's beside the point. But we're already coming up to the first boss we're going to be taking on, which is Chill Penguin. I'm going to store up a charge shot here just to make this easier. This fight was so intense when I was a kid. I remember many, many close calls in this boss battle when I was 8 years old. Not so much now. Whenever he slides, he's invincible, and that's annoying, but there's not much we can really do about it. Putting into play the dash shot, doing an extra damage there. But this is the thing that I like about bosses in the Mega Man X games as opposed to the classic series, is I've got a lot more options for dodging, because I can use the walls to my advantage. If I let him hit me with that ice breath, then he will freeze me in place, so I'm gonna try to avoid that, and of course he's gonna just stand there and shoot at me from afar. Let's stop that. The other reason for taking on Chill Penguin first is that he is definitely one of the easier bosses to beat with just the Buster and no upgrades besides the dash. Although, like I said, when I was a kid, that boss fight was all kinds of intense. A lot of hiding on the walls and, like, just waiting for the perfect opening. And for beating him, we get the Shotgun Ice, which I never used as a kid, but I have found more utility in it as I've gotten older and kind of explored the game a little bit more. I'll be putting it to good use in a couple sections. But I think that's where I'm going to stop for now, and in the next episode, we will take on Storm Eagle, and probably Storm Eagle and one other boss, too. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you back again.